Welcome back, Aluxers. This one's for all you budding entrepreneurs out there. So you're young. You don't have thousands of dollars in your bank account to afford starting 18 businesses all at once, just to see which one works out. But you do want to start a business, maybe to test the waters and see if you're really cut out for it. But you've also heard time and time again all of those statistics about the number of businesses that fail in the first year or the first 2 or 5 years. We're not getting into those statistics in this video, but we are going to help you make sure you don't become one of them. And even if you do fail, do it in a way that doesn't cost you much. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. If you're not subscribed yet, you're missing out. So Aluxers, be sure to listen to this video right until the end to find out how. Number 1. Start small at first. So you've just had that amazing business idea that's going to set the world on fire, and you're ready to start turning it into reality. But just remember, the last thing you want to do is spend all that time and resources on a full-blown product or service that nobody wants or needs. Because once you start getting down to brass tacks, what once seemed like the best business idea ever doesn't seem so great after all. There's a design principle called KISS, or Keep It Simple, Stupid, and that's what you need to do when you start out. If you want to start an e-marketing website, don't spend all of your money and go into debt to build the website you dreamed of. Start small scale. Or if you want to become a food entrepreneur, start with a low-key delivery service or a food stall, then build up slowly. Just take a look at Jeff Bezos. He started Amazon from the garage of the home he was renting, and using a basic website with a catalog of books on it. In any business, there's a way to get you there. Start small. Test the waters and see if there's a market for your idea. You don't need all the bells and whistles when you just get started, but you do need to start by testing your product, which leads us to number 2. Create a minimum viable product, also known as an MVP. Think of this as the alpha version of your business. It's the first iteration which has only the really important features. Having a good MVP is probably the best thing you can do when you're starting a business, and it's the best way to test out a market. The great thing is, even if it fails, you won't have big losses. The easiest way to understand MVPs is to look at game developers. They create the alpha version of a game, which has only 2 or 3 features, and then test it out. That way, they don't need to spend a ton of money on cutting-edge graphics and literally every single feature they can think of. The MVP needs to have just enough features to be of value, and for people to want to buy it, and for you to test out if it has potential or not, in a way that doesn't cost you much time or money. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be pretty, but it does need to be a good representation of the main things your product is trying to achieve. Remember, the main goal of your MVP is to test if your product is good or not, and that leads us to number 3. Measure the right things. We've said it before, what can be measured can be improved, but it's super important to make sure you're measuring the right things. Let's go back to the game developer scenario. If more people than expected downloaded your alpha version, that means they loved it, right? Well, not necessarily. You've got to ask yourself other questions, like how long did they spend playing it? Lots of downloads could just mean you had a good marketing strategy, but if all the users spent less than an hour playing it, well, that means the game kinda sucked. Look out for the right things to measure, as well as how much time did people spend in your game. Ask what features did they use, and which ones didn't they use. These questions will tell you if the game has potential, which features you need to focus on and develop, and which ones you should scrap altogether. Number 4. If there's a problem, is it you or is it the market? Generally speaking, a business fails because of one of 2 scenarios. 1, you have the right product for the wrong market. 2, you have the wrong product for the right market. When you measure the success of your MVP, you're basically trying to figure out if you are in one of those 2 scenarios. Let's say if you want to open a restaurant. You could open a classy, upmarket restaurant in a poor area. That's an example of the right product in the wrong market. But if you'd done it in a different area, it probably would have worked. And what if you open that restaurant in the right area, but the food just sucks? That's the wrong product in the right market. You could argue there's a third scenario where you have the wrong product for the wrong market, and to that, we'll reply by giving you this example. There are people selling bottled air. Yes, air in a bottle, which proves there's no such thing as a bad product as long as you find the right market. And you do this with market research. Make sure that whatever you're selling, there are people out there who want to buy it, and find where they are. And if you can't really find a market for it, you're faced with the next choice. Number 5. Know when to quit and when to pivot. You need to understand the difference between quitting and pivoting. Sometimes things just don't work out, and you need to abandon the project altogether. And when that happens, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Many of the world's best-known business people went through failure themselves. They just learned from it and put their lessons into practice for the next time. But there is a third scenario, where you don't just keep going like you were before and you don't quit either. It's called pivoting or changing course. Like Twitter did. They started out as a podcasting platform, and a pretty unsuccessful one at that. That is until Jack Dorsey had the bright idea of ditching the podcasts and basing the entire platform around sharing your status. And as you probably noticed, the idea kinda caught on. And yes, you can also pivot your market too. That means staying with the same product but changing the market. Pivoting successfully requires you to adapt your plan and be a bit creative sometimes. Number 6. Have a business plan. Basically, any business needs to do 3 things: provide value, have a way to deliver that value, and have a way for people to pay you for that value. If any one of these 3 things is at all hazy, then you're in a bad spot. And this is where your business plan comes in. It tells you how you're going to do these things, and it also covers questions like, how much capital do you have to put in to make it happen? How much time do you need to do it? And what results you can expect by when? There's a well-known quote, "If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail," and it's been attributed to a number of people from Benjamin Franklin to Winston Churchill. But who actually said it doesn't really matter. The business plan is your route to success, and without it, you don't have direction. Of course, you'll want to leave room to modify your plan as you go along, but you still need to have one in place. Number 7. Don't quit your job. Bet you didn't see this one coming. There's this old saying you have to go all in when starting a business and commit 100%. Well, that's not how the real world works, and whoever came up with that saying probably said it before side hustles became a thing. And following this advice is also how people go broke real fast. Remember people selling their houses to buy Bitcoin at $20,000, or people who quit their job to start yet another coffee shop? There is such a thing as a calculated risk, but you better be real freaking good at math if you want to bet on that one. A rule of thumb here, you only quit your job if your side hustle makes you at least the same amount of money as your day job. Number 8. Diversify. So you're starting to make sales and make a living. Next, see what else you can sell. This is exactly how some of the best-known brands started doing what they do now. Did you know that Nokia originally sold paper, or that Avon originally sold books? What did they have in common? They diversified, and because they started to diversify, they hit on the products they became best known for selling. Now, it's true, those are huge companies, and if you've got a small business, you're not going to diversify in such a huge way. If you sell cookies, don't branch out into mobile phones, but do branch out into cupcakes and see how they take off. You get the idea. If one thing you're selling goes badly, you'll have a backup. And even if not, maybe the new territory you get into will bring you even more rewards than your original one. Number 9. Be well informed. What happens when you're not up to date with what's going on in your business area? Let's take a look at a couple of examples. 20 years ago, Blockbuster Video were the king of video rentals, and they were sure they would stay that way. But they got caught unaware by something called the internet. Meanwhile, another company, Netflix, also started out as a DVD rental company, but they were smart enough to know the future was with streaming. Netflix could read which way things were going, and no matter how big or small your company is, you need to be like them. Be aware of how consumer trends and technology are going to affect it. This way, you'll know what's about to become obsolete and move away from that as soon as you can. You'll also know what opportunities are soon coming up, so you can move in that direction instead. Number 10. Be really good with numbers. As a business owner, you'll often have to make decisions without much thinking time. Like, if we take on this client, will it be profitable? If I branch out into this business area, will it make me money or cost me? To make good decisions, you need to know your numbers and know them inside and out. You don't need to be a math genius to do this, but have all the right numbers ready in your head so you can make multiple calculations when you need to. What's your monthly revenue and your monthly expenses? How much does a new customer usually bring to the table? And what resources, fees, time, etc. does it use up to service that customer? Or to make one item of this product? Have all of these numbers at your fingertips. That way, when you have to make a decision on the fly, you'll be able to confidently do the sums up and make the right choices. All right, Aluxers, we're at the end of our list today. What kind of business would you most like to start? Let us know in the comments. And of course, for sticking with us until the end, you get yourself a bonus. Be brilliant at what you do. You can take every other step on this list, but to have the maximum chances of success, there's simply no substitute for being great at what you do. You can have a great business plan in place, but as Steve Jobs put it, everything is based on a simple rule. Quality is the best business plan, period. Be reliable, offer great quality and great customer service, with a smile as well. People will come back and word will spread. This is definitely one of the best ways to minimize the risk of your business failing. And if your business is doing something you're not brilliant at, then invest in learning how to be brilliant at it. Until next time, Aluxers, remember to hit the video with a thumbs up and subscribe to Alux for more amazing videos every day.